Welcome. Welcome to the Quantum Body class, seminar class. So great that you're here, that you made it to come to a different experience of yourself, to come to a place where that's going to be remembered and presented and offered and remembered together with you. So that's really wonderful. That's great. So yeah, the quantum class, what can you expect today? It's going to be interesting because who knows? So the title of this was like the mind of the cells, and that's related to a book that I sent to you, the participants in this class. And so that is a really interesting book, in fact. It is not new, it is always there, but the experiences that are mentioned are not quite new, so to speak, or very different. And it is a beautiful expression of your individual subjective experience that you are having of your awakening. And so that's how I want to start. It's like, yeah, whatever happens today, relate to yourself. Don't think that you're not included or anything, or that this is about someone else. No, this is about you. Since we're in this, we're completely connected. That's what we discovered last time. There's a unified force field that leaves no space, literally, for separation. So that's a great idea, isn't it? So I can't wait to continue with you in this experiment, and I'm curious to hear what experiences you have with being, say, letting this material work with you instead of the other way around. So that's interesting to see that, to hear that from you. And I have some time to do that later after this moment of introduction. And so the great thing is that we start here with coming from these new ideas that came to us, like this unified force field, spatial entanglement that I read about the last time. Is like spatial entanglement. There's literally no space between any of the points in this universe. So there's basically one point, if you want to put it like that. And that is you. And that, like, it must be you. Otherwise, there would be no place for you. See, words are really funny to use, actually. And I have to smile when I try to think in quantum terms about what we have accepted as human beings as reality. Because it doesn't seem to be the same story as the quantum physics tells us, or the quantum experience actually shows you. So, to continue with the inclusion of this, what is given in the quantum physics, in the new discoveries that we do, and we're going to relate this to an awakening experience into a different state, literally, into an actual direct experience of all these new facets where we are completely a part of. And we relate that to something that appears to be inside, so we say, like, we go within, but if there's no such thing as space, then it's different. So we still use the term like go within and relax and all that, while you're one big bundle of energy, like jumping in and out of existence, having magnetic energy bombarded on you, like you're pulled down to what appears to be a bigger body, like you can call it planet Earth or something. If you even look at it like that, it is already amazing. So it is far from static. It is far from relaxed, or it has nothing to do with terms like that, in fact. So that makes everything different, doesn't it? So yeah, so something, some vibration appears to be speaking to you here. So you're actually receiving a certain vibration, a certain frequency, but that's also at the same time coming from you, since there's no, say, there's no space between us, and that actually gives me a good feeling. It's kind of cozy feeling, like, oh wow, there's no space, like a vast cold space that is dividing, or that is present, or anything like that. No, it's literally, there's only one point. There's a 0 point, you could call it. Some call it 0 point. So it's all collapsing into the same place, moment, time. Yeah, all of that. It's collapsing. And so they did experiments with light a long time ago already. It's like they did experiments with light to discover, like, what is light? Is that matter, or is that frequency? And they discovered both. It's like, yes, it's both at the same time. It is and a vibration, and it appears to be like a photon. It appears to be matter, but as soon as you measure it, it is gone. So these things are happening too. So is it material? Yeah, who knows? So I will not go too deep into that. So then the same thing is the problem of, if you think that something can be located, you have a problem. We discovered that the last time too. When you try to locate a thing, and at the same time want to know how fast it goes, you have a big problem, because the two cannot be done in the same time. That means as soon as you pinpoint one thing down, it actually is completely still, and you cannot measure the speed. Otherwise you would miss it where it is. See, that does something with your thinking. It immediately blows your mind, basically. And that's exactly super great. You know, so it's like, what real contribution has the intellect to all of this? Very little, because it immediately comes to the end of it. You cannot get it, what it is, because if you would get it, you would disappear. It is really like that. So, and that's very comparable to our awakening in that sense. It's like you look for that what you are, and as soon as you find it, it's gone, and you are actually in the direct experience of it. So then you don't have to look for it anymore, you become it. So this is a bit of like mind gymnastics as warming up for what are we going to read. So yeah, I love this. So let's see, which muscles do we need to train even more? Did we stretch enough? Did we stretch our minds enough? Yeah, I think so. So, all right, so I'm going to read something from the mother to start with. And she has a whole different experience altogether. It's like, instead of getting over ideas of the body, she actually actively brought ideas about her body in order to keep her body together. So if she wouldn't do that, she would faint. You would see her sit and whoosh, just go like that, like she would fall over. She would have no recollection. She felt no pain when she was fainting. And so that's different for the most of us, at least. And I don't know what your physical experience is, but you will certainly recognize some of it in what we read, especially for us being in a, say, transformational awakening procedure. And so she writes a lot about that, speaking directly from her own experience on a cellular level, how she does the things that she does. And it's interesting. So in order to know with whom you are dealing when the mother shares. Mother is the, say, was at least the direct companion from Sri Aurobindo, and they had an ashram together in Aurobindo, and the ashram is still there, but they are gone, in the physical sense, not any other way. So I want to introduce her to you. It's like she's our first visitor today. I want to introduce her to you. She is going to read a prayer for the cells to you, and I thought that was a great moment to introduce her and for you to getting to know her in case you didn't know her.
Now that by the effect of the grace we are slowly emerging out of inconscience and waking to conscious life, an ardent prayer rises in us for more life, more consciousness. O Supreme Lord of the universe, we implore Thee, give us the strength and the beauty, the harmonious perfection needed to be Thy divine instruments upon earth.
So I hope that was understandable, or you could connect with it. At least you saw her face, so to speak. You saw her, and the words of this prayer I will give to you another moment. But I thought it was a great way to introduce her. So the book that we use is this, The Mind of the Cells. And so I'm using two chapters, and not that I'm going to read them all, but it's more like some of it is good to read for you. So it's like chapter 2 was one that I said like, oh yeah, read that, the other state. And so what is he talking about? But for her, it came down to trying to connect, to stay, literally to bring in ideas about her body in order for the body to be there. Otherwise she would just fall, she would just collapse. Last time it so happened that someone was there and I didn't fall. So I didn't hurt myself. But this time I was all alone in my bathroom, and I was clearly continuing a phenomenon of consciousness in which I was spreading over the world. Spreading physically. That's the curious thing. It's the sensation of the cells. I experienced a movement of diffusion which grew more and more intense and rapid, and then all of a sudden I found myself laying on the ground. For example, I walk a little to reaccustom my body to it. I walk accompanied by someone, and I noticed a rather peculiar condition. Something I would describe as what gives me the illusion of the body. I place it in the hands of a person I'm walking with. That's to say, it's not my responsibility. That person sees to it that it doesn't fall, doesn't bump into things, you understand? And the consciousness is sort of limitless consciousness, like waves, but not individual waves. It is a movement of waves. a movement of material waves, corporeal waves. I might say a movement as fast as the earth, but not round or flat or something quite infinite in its sensation, but a wave moment. And this wave moment is the movement of life. See, and so she continues on to share more about what she's actually experiencing, and that is interesting to hear that. So I continue on page 140 with the training of the cells. It began when the doctors declared I was seriously ill, that was in 1962, because the entire body was emptied of its habits and forces. The entire body was emptied of its habits and forces. I couldn't take a step without fainting. If I wanted to walk from here to there, puff, I would faint on the way. I had to be held up so my body wouldn't drop to the ground. But as for me, not 1 minute did I lose consciousness. I would faint, but remain conscious. I would see my body and know I had fainted. I didn't lose consciousness. The body didn't lose consciousness, but now I understand very well. In the beginning, I didn't. I had always been under the impression of what Sri Aurobindo said. This instrument, the physical mind, is useless. It can only be got rid of. It was very difficult to get rid of it because it was so intimately linked to the aggregate of the physical body and its present form that when I tried and a deeper consciousness of the other state tried to manifest, the result used to be fainting. I mean that the union, the fusion and the identification with the other state without this physical mind, by annulling it, caused fainting. I didn't know what to do. So it's like referring to an experience of another state in which you become free of the ideas that you can hold about the body, and in fact opening up for a holy moment, a holy instant, and deep experience, revelation if you want, in which you feel that the body disappears, starts to fade in a certain sense. So then it becomes totally different to, you cannot stand and or she at least falls over. So she lost sometimes her body consciousness too. But most of the time she was just completely conscious. So why is this interesting? And why is this something that we have to know or have to get in touch with? Well, here it is. Like, it is so good in that sense to read about different experiences of people, even though that's not your experience, and it's not that you have to have this experience, but at the same time, you have no idea what is possible. Like, there's more and more to discover, especially in terms of opening up to light, opening up to, say, a whole new experience of yourself. And even now, since you are on this path, like being active for some time, who knows how long, you have different experience of yourself that you still relate to in a way that you're familiar with as a human being, while the actual occurrence is different. And for example, it can be that if you listen to Joel or to whoever, and you listen and you come in touch with the light in you, you can think, and it's the same as during your meditation, you can think that you just fell asleep. And you cannot open your eyes, you cannot, but actually you're still conscious. So it's like And even if you were gone for a moment, it wasn't surely sleep. It was not sleep like you're used to as a human being, like, oh my God, I fell asleep and now I missed it. It's like, no, wait a minute. There are different experiences here, especially in listening to your favorite teacher or listening to or deeply going into meditation. Then you don't know exactly what is going to happen, and that is so great. So that means also you don't have to hold yourself together in your meditation. You don't have to hold yourself together in listening to your teacher or to spiritual scripture or who knows what comes to you. Like the freedom to let yourself fall apart, so to speak, is an essential part in your awakening. And hardly anyone talks about that. So she does. She describes, she doesn't tell you to invite you to allow yourself to do the same. But I'm actually doing that. It's like there's so much more possible than you know. And it's so great to not hold on to that you want to keep yourself together. Let yourself fall apart, at least the ideas that you held about yourself. And this is essential. So this can also mean with moments that you think like, oh my God, I'm sick, or I have so much pain in my back, or I've got such incredible headache. I got this and I got that. This is all, say, part of the procedure in awakening. It's part of the physical conversion, the physical changes that are occurring to you. Like imagine that you see this in countries too. Like when there's a different president that wants to take over, it can shake and rattle quite a bit. You know, it's like that can stir up a lot of movement and energy. That is the same with your body. It's like you think you're the captain of it. You try to do your best to protect it, to care for it, to do this and to do that. You're the manager of your body. At least that's what you think. So here comes the transformational teaching of conversion of energy, of transformation, awakening, and all that. And you intensify this process in yourself by being part of a 40-day awakening experience, for instance. Then things start to change and shift because you're losing that control. You're actually losing, you're being taken over. That means you're not in control of that body anymore as you thought that you were before. So this is all essential in your awakening. That means it's perfectly taken care of. It just functions differently. And it needs your awareness, sure, absolutely. But it doesn't need your control. And that's the difference. So that gives you like an enormous repertoire of possibilities that you couldn't take from because of your tendency to hold on to this definition of yourself. It's like it has to be like this and that. It has to fit in that story. Otherwise, yeah, this is how I know myself. That's it. And that's not good enough anymore. So yeah, that will change by the frequency that's given in the say in the light that's being offered in every time that we come together, or that you hear something, or that you listen to your favorite teacher. Like the actual occurrence is that light, say, literally enters into your body, into your cells, into your DNA, into your memories, into your physicality, into your relationships, into your idea about yourself. So the control part is one of the big items, basically, in your transformational journey. So to hand that over and align with the will of the universe. Like now I'm in this unified force field with its, I'm aware of that, with its own, say, laws, the laws of love. and of harmony, like an incredible harmonious something. I will not define it because then I will limit it. With the change of command, it's like training of the cells. The first difficulty, of course, is that the cells panic and they no longer know what to obey. They're a bit confused. Obviously, the old system has to go before the new one can be made manifest. All the body functions are undergoing a change of command. The functions that were going on naturally in compliance with the force of nature are suddenly disrupted. They're withdrawn to be replaced, something I call divine, by the divine. And maybe Sri Aurobindo called it supramental, which is the realization of tomorrow. I don't know what else it is to call. So when everything is thoroughly dislocated, when things are really quite bad, that consents to intervene. So when everything is really disorganized, it's on page 142, when the body feels really awful, that consents to intervene. The transition isn't pleasant, and with sharp pains, with impossible to eat anything, and so on. It's clear that someone had to do it. The moment of the change of authority is always difficult, and if one isn't aware, one can take it to be the sign of an illness. In the cells which no longer know whom they must obey, the physical consciousness, the consciousness that makes the cells function, is accustomed to effort, to struggle, to misery, to defeat. So accustomed that it's quite universal. The end, that end which for centuries and centuries was inescapable, it weighs down. It's very difficult. It takes a very slow and constant work to replace that sort of habit, of defeat, basically, with something else. It is very hard for the body to change because it lives only from its habit of living. And every time something of the true way of living filters in, then without thinking, without reasoning or anything like an idea, practically without sensation, almost automatically the cells panic at the newness of it. Well, that speaks of itself. That's really great. I'm really happy to read this too. It's like I recognize this too. I remember too, and maybe you have this experience right now. That's even more important. It's like you see that something physically changes when you start to come into a regular, say, exposure to the light and to love and to this, what we're doing here. It's like that has an impact on your physicality. So it's like so hard for the body to change. So be patient with yourself. This is what I always tell you too, and allow yourself time to let this change occur. So it is good to rest a little bit more than you used to, and not to go out too much or eat lightly, but try to eat. And so resting, eating well, drinking well. It's like taking care of yourself, because that makes that this literally the light starts to integrate into your body. And how that exactly goes, I don't know, but I speak from experience that works that way. It doesn't mean that you cannot do anything. It is more like, well, be aware that this process is taking place, that is happening, because you asked for it. You asked for the speed up, for more exposure to light. So I'm happy that she writes about it. It sounds very familiar to me. It's like, yeah, a lot of my experiences, I like that too. I taking time to literally undergo this, and to your body reacts maybe slowly to it, but it just needs a little time to integrate. That's all. And it's for the greater good. So it is like you go once through this process, and a process of healing, and a process of, say, entering into the whole new, say, law of the new nature of you, instead of the old nature that is based on defeat, on struggle, on effort, on the drill. It's like, no, this is effortless, this is light, this is expanding, this is not, say, limited, it's unlimited. Imagine that. So that's why I do the little mind gymnastics at the beginning, to stretch up the ideas, the flexibility in receiving these ideas. So that is part of it too. It's like, okay, suddenly your mind is more open to receive, and that has an impact on your physical system. So anyway, so that's clear, but it goes down into your cells, into the depth of your cells, and even further than that. So it shakes up your whole system, and that translates again into your relationships, your financial situation, your everything. Like, it has an impact on everything. So what does this have to do with quantum? Well, actually you're making a quantum leap. Like, you're not following the natural evolution of man, but you're actually allowing a quantum jump or a quantum leap to happen to you. And that's why this is related to the quantum physics, to the quantum idea, quantum body. So your body is in an other state than it was before, and that continues, and that, say, expands, and it becomes easier for you, because it's like not everything is being translated into effort and difficult and heavy and all that solidity. No, it is more like, no, there's light, there's space between the atoms of your cells. There's an exchange going on, like there's an open communication possible. Suddenly that becomes more obvious as a possibility, because you're literally entering into a different state altogether. So that's what say the mother says then with the other state. It's like, that's where you're going to take time to experience that for yourself. And it has nothing to do with intellect, or it has nothing to do with getting it, or no, this takes place on a whole different level. But it's essential to know that it's going on with you, since you're following these classes, and are open to the light, and sit with yourself and having time to undergo this process. When one way or another you're able to do this. So, and she says too in the book, when you read it, it's like, yeah, so it's not everyone that does this, because it's not very attractive. She has a beautiful word for that. Let me see if I can get it. Oh yeah, here. What's the name of the book? The book is The Mind of the Cells. The Mind of the Cells. So it's The Mind of the Cells. So here it is. One must accept infirmity and the very appearance of stupidity and everything. There isn't one being in the 50 million who has the courage for that. Lots of people went off elsewhere, into another more or less subtle world. Of course, there are millions of ways to escape. There's only one way to stay, and that is to truly have courage and endurance to accept all the appearances of infirmity, the appearances of powerlessness, the appearances of incomprehension, the appearance, yes, of a negation of the truth. But if one doesn't accept all that, never will ever be anything be changed. Those who want to remain great, luminous, strong, powerful, and what have you, well, let them stay up there. They can do nothing for the earth. So it's like ego deflating. So here's the list one more time. The appearances, of course, it's not the reality, but it's the appearances of infirmity, and the appearance of powerlessness, the appearance of incomprehension, and the appearances of negation of the truth. So all this you have to face, the appearances of that. All that you have to face. So that is not very popular thing to do. Otherwise we would be sitting here with many. Like, it's not a very popular thing to do. Because why is that? Well, you have to admit, like, you're powerless. You have no idea. The things that you think about what is going on are not what it is at all. So it's basically you get in touch with the insanity of your own mind. And you have to admit it too. Like, oh my God, what am I thinking? Look at what was normal to me. Look at that. I really believed that I was a separate figure in a world. I really believed that by protecting myself, I wouldn't hurt others, but I would be safe. And on and on and on and on and on, you know. So this is like, you give that all away. No, there's no hope for you in that sense. There's no hope for you as a personality. With that, you will not experience the light and love that you're actually looking for. So, and up to the point that you step in altogether, something changes. Then you don't want to be anyone anymore. You don't want to protect yourself anymore, or your ideas. No, you just literally allow yourself to fall apart. So, and yeah, that's a normal thing, in fact. It's like what we translated, or we say like a lot this, and that is, when you drop every idea that you hold about yourself, like, what is true about you still remains and will show itself. You know, that's your only comfort. The rest not. Like, all the ideas that you have about how you can keep it together, or how you can, develop, or what is good for your development, all this can go. It will, finally you will let it go if you want to experience truth, if you want to come into the other state in which you are naturally a part of everything. So that's great. So here's actually somebody speaking and putting that into words in a way that you can understand really well. She's very, almost like physical in her expression. I love that about it. So it's very grounded in a certain sense, but describes the transformational process really great. And it's, like I said in the beginning too, it's like, it's so good to open up your say repertoire of possibilities. Like, you don't know what's possible, how to communicate. You don't know what is possible in that, and that's a huge gift to discover more. It's a huge gift to yourself. So, and whatever helps with that. If we need to read about quantum physics in order to dislodge yourself from a fixed position, great, let's do that. And or dive into a cellular story with the mother, showing that she actually works the other way, like she has to keep certain ideas in order for the body to be, say, still together. Otherwise she would drift off cellularly into the world. So I think that's great, and that's great that she can write about it like that. So practicing experiencing light, practicing opening yourself up for light, and feeling that light, just like we did the other day with, the energy between your hands, for instance. It is also like recognizing the oneness that is going on right now. It's like seeing that we're literally of one mind is also a total part of it. But having that as a direct experience is everything. So continuously, like there's more to explore. A lot of other things that you didn't know of that makes the whole so much more acceptable. And also so much easier to let go of physical ideas. I remember that she writes in her book about like you can see in the in the physical conversion or the physical change in your body that the one ancient thing that remains the longest is what she said. Like what remains the longest is not fatigue, is not other senses, but it's more like fear, with pain. Pain is one of the oldest, remains that stay with you in your transformation. So that means not that you have to suffer a lot of pain. That's not what I'm saying, but it's more like ideas that are not related to pain are easier to let go of than when something is still hurting, like physically hurting. That appears to be, she says this, like it appears to be the hardest thing to let go of. So I don't want to make that idea true, but I can imagine that in terms of, that's an ancient, it is an ancient habit, in fact, of the body. It's a very old habit. So it's one of the fundamental, almost like reflexes that you have. If somebody, say you experience these things too, it's like you, even when you almost hit yourself with a hammer on your finger, or even thinking about hitting yourself with a hammer on your finger, you can feel the pain. Like immediately there's a response. And so these things like that is so ancient, at least for me as a carpenter, But it's, what I mean to say is like an ancient idea, an ancient old habit, so to speak, of the body. So very interesting book to further reading, definitely. So I would definitely invite you to do so. And so there's more in there. There was just one aspect of it. So I will send it to you and you can read it yourself. So to give you another angle on this, it's like the alchemy of coming from a human natural experience of yourself into a spiritual experience of yourself. So basically I'm confirming all this as an idea of waking up, so like there's an alchemy, as a change going on in you that is really like turning something into gold. Remembering you in your true nature is letting go of the old, but coming from a human standpoint, it seems like you're being transformed into a spirit man. And this is really what is occurring. So that was another illustration of that. But I let it go now. I let it go for now. We have heard a lot, and so we worked our way through this, and that will be sufficient for today. So thank you for that. Thank you for listening and actively participating in this, being present here. And I hope you have a great experience, and let me know how that is for you. So thank you for your attention. Thank you so much. See you soon.